Hey, it's Daddy Steve. Please like and subscribe. Please click on the Deck Heroes icon. Click on subscribe. 100% free. Blood in, blood out. And don't forget to click on the notifications just so you don't miss any amazing content. This man here in the right, I don't want to give him too much praise. I watched the first 5 minutes. The first couple of minutes, this guy is just firing off bars. It's like, yeah, mic drop, mic drop, mic drop. But it does become a lot more problematic as we go on. I haven't seen the whole thing. As I said, I've seen the first about 4.5 minutes. Let's go.
Agree with you because hold on. See, that's why they say because they don't listen. This is why everybody disagree with them too. Hold on, no, I disagree with you, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because if she was that amazing woman, she wouldn't have got that age to be single. She'd have been off the market.
I disagree with that.
I disagree. How is it that you this kind of a person? You've been alive 40 years and don't nobody want your ass? That says a lot about you. I'm gonna just be real, right? And I want all the women in here to hear this. You hear what she just said, right? You had your guards up because of your past things, right? Mm-hmm. This is why men like younger women, because they don't have those experiences, those trauma-ass decisions that you done been through your whole life that's keeping your guard up from me. This is why we date younger women. Hold on. Number two, this is why it's important. I know this now, and all us in this room made bad decisions as far as when it comes to kids and shit like that, right? Except for obviously you, right? But this is why it's important to marry while you are young, okay? This is how it's supposed to be. You guys are supposed to marry young and grow old together. You don't supposed to come with these fucking traumas from your past, traumas from our past, all this shit. But in our culture, it becomes the norm. And we try to find a way to cope with it and call it regular life. This is not regular life. The way we grew up is not regular life. And somehow we find a way to make an excuse for this shit. As a people, we're not supposed to have all these goddamn kids by all these different women. We're not supposed to be running around this motherfucker hoes and doing all this shit and women dressing like hoes and acting like niggas. Everybody is out of nature. Everybody. Both sides are fucked up. So now you have all these people coming in with their bullshit and we trying to match with each other and see who bullshit outweighs or underweighs each other. This is why we all are single. Because all us got shit going on. And like she said, if I notice some shit and I think as a woman in her age, right? Or our age, because we all the same age, we didn't saw so much, right? We have saw so much bullshit that anything a motherfucker do is a trigger to us now. Anything. Mm-hmm. You didn't been with that many partners or been around these many situations that everything a motherfucker do, you didn't saw it before. Mm-hmm. So at what point can you open up if you saw everything? Think about this. What point can you open up if you, oh, I remember my ex nigga did that, or my ex did this, or he did that and she did this, and it's looking familiar. So these is why these gods is coming up, because we have too many partners and too much experience. We're not supposed to be like this, bro. We supposed to meet our wives in high school, stay with her to college, marry her, and be with her for the rest of our lives and learn. This is how it's supposed to be. Is it like that? No, that's not the norm in our culture, because we grew up without daddies, grew up in the hood, grew up with pimps and hoes, with gangsters and all this extra shit, drug selling. We didn't live normal lives. Our lives are up where we come from. And somehow we try to make sense of it and make excuses for our bullshit. Every person in here that did some dumb shit. And I'll raise my hand and say me first. But I look back and say, damn, I wish I could have started over. Because I'm the person that I always wanted to be now. And it hurts me so bad that I didn't marry the mother of my children. That shit hurt, bro. I got 5 baby mamas. Damn. You feel what I'm saying?
That's a lot. I'm not going to hold you. That's a lot. It does seem like he is holding himself accountable, though, in retrospect. He's basically...
Big man, I've got to do my bit first. Big man is absolutely amazing. I just want to just do my bit first before I forget. Okay, so I think he's just saying that, look, women, you got to marry young. He didn't mention about body clock, but you do for that reason, for the reason of the body clock, let alone, and he talks about the reason for him anyway. You don't want to accumulate all these kind of baggage from relationships, which taints you. You know what I mean? If you could like just shrug it off and just like objective, if you had an objective mindset, shrug it off and just crack on, absolutely fine. But I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. Or if I don't know if that's the case often enough, that's not what he's saying, but I think that's the logical destination of where it could possibly go. Yeah, men are not meant to be acting like we've got to sleep with every woman in the world. Women are not meant to be acting like the 304s, not meant to be kind of living in opposition on two sides and trying to outshout each other. You know, that living in opposition is never going to suit anybody. That's for sure. And also he touched on the dysfunction of black communities kind of like emerging from poverty, basically. And there may be a level of having to kind of emerge from the weeds. and not being affected or tainted by it. So all these things are kind of not helpful. But listen, the answer to all those things is taking some accountability in self. But anyway, that's another story. Let's go.
He's saying he wish he can do better or he can kind of start over. Okay, in retrospect, looking at the trauma that a lot of us face growing up in the community, being brought up in rougher conditions, a messed up family dynamic, not necessarily having a strong father figure in the household. That does play a toll when it comes to some of the decisions that we make kind of growing up. And in retrospect, he's basically saying, I messed up. Shout outs to him for having accountability here, but moving forward, put a cap on it. I'm just saying, but let's keep going.
I was only in a relationship with 4 of them.
Listen, but the thing is as well, going back to what Kevin Samuels would say, the lack of a father figure may not actually be down to him. It may just be down to the relationship broke down. And men don't have any choice about whether a child comes into the world at the end of the day. And we've got to think about, and the women do, basically, long story short. And also, if you're going to bring somebody into the world, you need to do a better job, basically, because it ain't working. You know what I mean? And again, going back to point number one, if you're going to bring a child into the world, maybe you should be in a marriage first, or at least in a settled relationship, or otherwise, guess what? He ain't going to be there. And if you're aiming for, and again, sorry, since it's been brought up though, if you're going to be aiming for the lowest denominator of man, you can't criticize him. You've got to own, you've got to take accountability for the decisions that you make. And I know there's going to be some instances where a man lets you down, fair enough. That's not going to be the majority of the cases, though. If you just met him at the club, you've only known him for a short period of time, or you know him to be, in and out of jail, prison, and drugs and all gangs and all that kind of stuff. If you're dealing with all that and you expected a different outcome, then what planet are you on? You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's always going to be the case, but you need to know a man well enough to vet him as potentially marriage worthy, right? I mean, not like in a utopian kind of dream world, but in terms of core qualities. And if you don't go down that route and it's over some superficial bullshit, own your mistakes. Own your mistakes, because who's going to be left carrying the baby, as a proverb goes? And let's go.
I was only in a relationship with 4 of them, right? And rest in peace to one of my daughters. One of my daughters passed away. But ultimately, bro, it's so important to be with the person that you have children with, man. And the way I think now, it's like, you're supposed to endure all this shit with each other, because once you guys separate and accumulate this extra shit and try to come out, that's why my first question was, can you rekindle a relationship? Because when you separate and you accumulate all these different experiences and try to come back together, that shit is like a time bomb. I don't think it would work. It would take a lot of therapy as a couple and sacrifice.
Now, I really want to hear what you women have to say about that.
I want to, yeah.
I want to know why you're trying to imitate Method Man. It's like, is he trying to take Method Man's face and you kind of, no, you take Method Man's face, you look at it, and you kind of like sketch it on a different piece of paper. Right, anyway, let's go forward.
Because I'm just listening, I'm looking, right? And I'm just noticing things, and it's like, would you be able to understand that?
So I was trying to, I kind of lost some of my responses, but we got that out the way, what should be, what could have been. Now what are we going to do? Because we can sit here and we can talk about what broke the mold, what should have been, and all these could have, but ain't nobody talking about how can we now move to the next level. Well, I can say that for me, yes, being healed, like you said, but I still have my reserves on certain things, because in the process of healing, I learned to do better. I learned to know what I'm willing to accept and what I'm not willing to accept. You know what I'm saying? So for me, if you of our age bracket, and as a man, I think, instead of talking about how we want to be these independent type of women, we this, and that, start helping us and saying, you know what? Let me make this a safe space for you. Well, you don't have to do that. But I'm not talking about doing it after we fight tooth and nail with every other bitch for you, as you say. Yeah, sometimes it is a struggle to get a decent man. And sometimes when you find somebody that you think is decent, they show up with some of them same traits as the not so decent guy. You know what I'm saying? So that's where that guard comes, right? We still got that guard up. But from the men, y'all don't do nothing to kind of help us, but y'all want us to do all the helping for y'all. Create the peace. But we can't.
No, this is just so much bullshit. So she's saying that there's a near enough parity, that it's not the exception that you get somebody who's a decent, I mean, what is a decent man in her point of view? Because I'm talking about the real trash level men that people are having kids with. And she's saying, okay, logically, just think about it. In all the life examples of guys that you know, there's a wafer thin difference between a piece of shit man who's a criminal, basically, you should never even think about having kids with, and they're dysfunction in our community, I'm talking about the black community, and a professional man. We're saying there's a wafer thin thing there. It's bullshit. And if it is, we're talking about the niche. I'm not talking about being head valet at the car wash. I'm not talking about that level of bullshit. I'm talking about an actual professional job. That's what we're talking about here. There's not, listen, this bullshit. There's not a hair's breadth between one and the other. It's just chalk and cheese bullshit. You just kind of make excuses for your own bad decisions, trying to excuse people, which kind of takes a whole argument left based on bullshit. Anyway, let's go.
Create the peace for you if, and you didn't ask your question, but I'm gonna say something, that little girl, every woman wants to be able to still be that little girl around her guy. And I don't care what nobody say, because that's where you really have become yourself. You can laugh, you can be goofy, you don't care how you look because he's made you so comfortable.
Your dad.
No, you don't. It doesn't have to be your dad.
I don't know if being a little girl, okay, a child, is the right terminology here. Now, I can understand if you want to feel important or have an opinion, or, you know, perhaps want to be, I guess, felt special by your significant other. Okay, I can understand that, okay? But for you to say that you want to feel like a little girl, are you talking about feeling like a child, right? Because once a man starts treating you like a child, we already know how that's going to go, okay? So I don't know if that's the right terminology here, but let me know what you guys think about that.
That's ultimately what it should be about.
Well, I think the main point of what she said a little bit earlier, and it's going to go too far, so I've got to mention it now. She was talking about, at the very start of her little segment, it was, well, yeah, I take what you're saying, brother, but how do we move this thing forwards? But again, and she was talking about like women being damaged by their experiences. Okay, so what you do in that situation is, well, you got no choice. You got to step out of the dating market until you fix self. And in that meantime, as the gentleman says, men are probably going to be dating younger women anyway. They probably want to have their own family at the end of the day. So that's it. Set a higher standard about the men that you actually have kids with. Don't waste those younger years, the fertility years, basically. Spend that time, moving your life forward in your own right, of course. So you can have a successful, prosperous future moving forward and hopefully generational wealth. But don't let that be at the expense of trying to find your one. But your one has to be high bar. Set a high bar, or own your decisions that you set it at 0. Congratulations to you. You played yourself.
Right? You should want to be as vulnerable as possible with your partner. But we have to learn to be able to put a person in their headspace, and not by what you think is right, because you have to learn to love a person and know a person for what they're telling you they need. Because a lot of persons say, well, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. But did you do it because you felt like it was right, or did you do it to make sure that that person also agreed this is what they're looking for? This, you see what I'm saying? A lot of people say, well, I did this and I did that and I did this and I did that, and it wasn't enough. Did you stop to ask that person, was this the stuff that they were looking for? Okay.
So I wanted to ask one thing, right? What you said that us as men expect y'all to always help us, but we don't help y'all. In what ways?
That's what I was saying. In that spot, to be extremely vulnerable with you guys. That's what I'm saying. Because the more, and if you've ever experienced it, the more vulnerable that female is around you, the more loving and nurturing she is, and the more peaceful she actually makes it for you.
I can agree with that.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it has to be a.
And that's another thing too. Like even with us, right? With all the kids that we got.
I only have one.
No, I'm talking about the brothers.
Thank you.
Don't get on my nerves.
One here,
I'm
brother.
talking about the brothers, but like that's another thing, because we are fathers, like real ones, right? To the point where we take care of our children, and it's not. And most times, like I know, Ma's a good father because he didn't have one. Butter had a father. He's a good father. Maybe his father was a good example for him. I had a father. I'm a good father because I want to be a better father than what my father was to me, right? Not that he was so bad or whatever, but it's just that, like, I think that as a parent, we should want our kids to be better than us anyway. So it's certain.
Just a second. I just think about the guy who's got 5 kids. You can't be a better father. One man can't split himself effectively between 3 households. I mean, if he's got, number one, he's got to be working in order to be an effective role model. So if he's working full time, he can barely manage to have an effective influence on one household. You know what I mean? So how can he be on 3? It's just the maths aren't mathing, and to be a good dad, we have to go back again to the core basics, which he said. To be fair, the guy with five kids, three different baby mamas, You have to do that from a marriage. You have to do that from a stable position that you want to be with someone long term, and she wants to be with you long term, and it's not dysfunctional. I mean, you got to be a stick around and be a good role model for that kid. You can't do it part time. Can't possibly. I mean, you'll always be somebody's biological father, but in terms of raising productive people who are not broken, then you need to not be broken yourself before you have kids, and say be something stable. Yeah, of course, but also be present enough in order to guide them on and those intrinsic qualities of just being a good person and dedication and manners and, you know what I mean, just applying themselves and setting high standards and, yeah, just being respectful of everybody, you know what I mean, and those good ethics. Otherwise, what do we have? Ghettos, gangs, and, you know, people who don't reach self-optimization, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's go.
Things that need to be taught in the household. And then when you don't see certain things in the household, that's where the generational curses come in, Maul, and we had the 5 baby mamas, and we had this and that and this, and it's like,
We got 15 kids amongst 3 niggas in this motherfucker.
That's crazy. I'm not gonna lie, that's crazy. That's
but
crazy.
that's the thing. Then, but look at the age that we start having the kids too. We was real young. You know what I mean? And so,
But
because
failed
of-
to marry young.
because of that, yeah, because when we was that age, that's not what you were taught. Just like
Exactly.
what we was talking about earlier, right? I was taught that, man, you have a lot of chicks, get you some money, cars. That's how we were raised, because we come up in the streets. You feel me? And so until you get to an age where it's like, this is some bullshit. That ain't what we supposed to be doing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But now
It's
you
so
got
bad.
all this shit
It's like
accumulated.
all this stuff that you have accumulated, you have to make a decision. I'm gonna say me. I had to make a decision to become a better man, not only for myself, but for them girls that I gotta raise. And so now you gotta set a certain type of example for them, so that because you don't, especially your daughters, you don't want your daughter messing with no nigga like who you was when you was messing with their mama.
Come on,
I
preach.
don't. I don't want. I
No,
don't
we don't, but that's exactly who they like. The bad boy has always been the thing to
And
do.
it-
you
yeah,
know?
man, it
and
is.
that's why they always say most women have passed up on the man they were supposed to be with because he was quote unquote a lame or shit like that.
He's absolutely right. So I'm not going to disrupt him too long, but listen, you can't just say, okay, well, that's the kind of men they like. This is where raising kids, this is where you need some kind of help in raising kids, basically, some kind of school class, some kind of diploma, because they take their cues from the raising that they've had. They take their cues from their parents, number one. That's one. But more than that, as again, you've got to set through these. You've got to be consistent in the foundations that you give people. Be consistent in the foundations that you give people. It's not like, oh, they turn 17, oh, there's a rule for you. Guess what? They've had 17 years of no rules. It's sods you. They're going to do what they're going to do. And you can't do it at 16, 13, 14. You need to do that from day one. You need to kind of take people, I'm not talking about sexual, obviously, but you need to have a plan from day one, and there needs to be consistency, and it needs to happen at the right time, and you need to have the insights in order to think, no, these are these bounds I need to give this person from day one, and then it's as natural as it could ever be by the time they reach their teenage years. Okay, and also, of course, and I know you guys should know this. I know you guys do know this. Say if their peer group are just complete trash, which are going to completely undermine everything that you've said. Is it? Oh, well, there's nothing we can do about it, you know what I mean? Or, again, rewinding, think about who your kids are hanging around with at the earliest moments and put them into good schools. Not so that they bring down the standard, that they're actually good kids. Like good kids, not just good in terms of objectively good, in terms of somebody else's parent who doesn't know you would look at your kid and they don't know them from Adam, and they'll look how they behave and look at what they're achieving, and they will tell you bluntly, because they don't know you or they don't need to face you, yes, your kid is this. And if your kid isn't applying themselves, guess what? It's a bad kid. Let's just stick with that.
The dude that's gonna treat you good is not exciting.
Yeah.
You see? The bad boy makes you feel important.
Okay.
They like that. The bad boy with the connections, with the money, with the group of niggas, yes men around him.
That's
And all
gonna
that
put you in
goofy
a jam. It ain't gonna help. She ain't gonna tell you what's going on.
This,
and
this pretty amazing. This is the first time I actually agree with y'all.
Seeing that you was just talking about before the show, you would never agree with us.
Amazing.
Do y'all remember him saying that before the show? I will never agree with y'all. I would never agree with y'all women. That's what he told us before the show.
You know, I think that we as black people are our own worst critics. We put each other down so much, and we just belittle each other so much, and we're the only race of people that does that. It's like we put this block around each other. Like it's like far as like he said with dating younger women and then older women, it's like me as an older woman, it's like men figure that once a woman reaches a certain age, she ages out of the dating pool. Like she's no longer desirable and nobody's gonna want her because she's at this certain age. And that's just like mind-boggling to me. And we're the only race of people that do that.
Yeah, that's false. That's completely false. Okay, in India, Japan, China, so on and so forth. Okay, many other parts of the world, it's literally called leftover women. Okay, once a woman hits around 27 years old, 30, around that age, she is considered leftover women. Okay, so it's not a concept made up in the black community. Yeah, that's been happening for many, many years. Okay, so, you know, I hear what she's saying. And, you know, Kevin Samuels talked about the danger zone and, you know, women get to a certain age and they need to pitter patter in order to find a significant other. But yeah, it's definitely not limited to the black community. But let me know what you guys think about that.
And it's like we down each other so much.
I think we're actually getting as a community at a stage of realization, and I think she's right to compare us to other kind of communities and other races, but where do we rank and all the important metrics? Let's be honest now, I'm talking to the black people, I'm just going to have some honest discussion since it's been raised. Where do we rank on anything? And do we rank where we should be? Are we, let's put it this way, the nicest, just to be diplomatic, are we ranking where we think that we should be en masse? Or can we look to others that do it better? And also, should we be, even if we thought somehow that we're doing amazing in the schools, in our communities and things like that, and we are on the road of affluence, you know what I mean, and generational wealth, even if we thought of that, and again, I'm not talking about looking at those isolated examples, especially if it's in the flaming media like a rapper, anyway, until we get until the stages where we can look with honest eyes and say, no, we set a minimum standard because we are about, you know, some kind of positive ambition, and absolutely fair enough. And until then, we've got to get there. So we do need some kind of self insights, basically, some objective view of ourselves. You know what I mean? And we can't just allow somebody else to drag us down. And that may well be our partner. So the men are gonna drag the ladies up, maybe from exclusion, if they're not at the standard, and the ladies definitely need to do it because they're the ones that be carrying the babies. And quite clearly, en masse, in my point of view, for whatever it is, I'm going to talk to my point of view, we're not doing a good enough job of it. You know what I mean? Especially at the lower end, and there are some, we're not doing enough. And anyway, we should not be aiming for these single parent households. Should we be having half of these kids? Anyway, it should have happened before marriage. And even if there's mistakes made, unless that person take on the full responsibility to raise that child, so I'm losing my voice, to be a successful adult, and they've got everything that they need other than just flaming youth and dreams, then they shouldn't be having those kids either, in my point of view, or they accept the failure. Anyway, let's just go.
Don't support each other, and we don't see each other as an individual. We see each other, oh well, you know, she too old, she got this in her mind, this how she thinks, she this and that, but you don't know her, you don't get to know her, you don't know her as a person. You're taking your experiences and you're basing that person off a previous experience without actually knowing that person. You don't know how that person thinks if you've never had an actual conversation and sat down and talked to that person. Everybody just feels like, oh, is she in her 40s or she in her 50s, so her mind this and she ain't gonna learn this, she ain't gonna listen, and, you know, that's why I want somebody this age, and because I can mold them into what I want them to be. And that's crazy. I'm like, all women want to be wanted and want to be desired, and you know, it's not like I shouldn't have to compete with somebody young for this man, because I feel like this: if I have to compete for you, you don't want me.
No, that's absolutely not true, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Crazy.
There are plenty of men that love older women and all kinds of women. The problem is y'all don't date y'all range. twos want eights.
Excuse me. No,
You don't want this one.
excuse me.
No, hold on. Let me finish it.
go.
I'm gonna let you
I'm
speak.
hearing
Hold on.
stuff already.
Okay, hold on. Let me just say this. Hold on. No, there are plenty women. I mean, plenty men that want all kinds of women, but y'all don't want the man that's on your level. Every woman wants a man higher than their level. If you date within your level, you will get married like that. The nigga on your level, you don't look at. You looking over him like you better than him. Like you better than him.
Men do not date on their level.
Men date below their level.
And you know what?
All the time. That's why we got more options.
Let me say this right quick. Men won't get.
Let me say this very quick. We'll get to it, darling. No problem. I think what she's confusing is with things that Kevin said a long time, and many times he was absolutely right. Men don't listen. We can have what the women want of us, or we can have what the reality is, what we want from women. We want women on the right side of that biological clock. So if they don't get their man and they don't hold him down, and that's not by having a kid by him, that is finding a man that's marriage material and being honest, like the gentleman says, about sexual marketplace value. So if you are a 2, you got to go for a 2. If you're a 5, you got to go for a 5. You know what I mean? And etc. So you need to be realistic. But once you're the other side of the body clock, things are going to get significantly harder unless by some miracle you meet a man that doesn't want to have his own family, and quite possibly your options will still exist. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Will still exist, but he's probably going to have to already have kids and things like that. So you've added a level of complication to your life. Unless you genuinely like kids and things like that, you know what I mean, and you're willing to support him in whatever way, he's probably not going to need any support other than, at some point, you and him mostly, probably, but also from time to time a kid. So that's the situation. But it becomes significantly more difficult if you don't focus on finding that man on the right side of fertility, basically. Let's go.
No.
Because they're able to mold them,
Here we
and
go.
you can teach them and tell them what to do and how to do it, when to do it, and what to do. With us older women, we've been there, done that. We already know ourselves. We've learned. Those younger women, those girls don't know themselves already. They're out there. Men want those women so they can mold them into what they want them to be.
And what's wrong with
We're
it?
not that.
What's wrong with me molding my wife to please me?
If you
The
want
problem
that
is
young girl, go ahead and get her, but she's not a seasoned woman. She doesn't
want
know
that.
already.
We don't want that. That's the problem. Exactly. We don't want
What do you
that.
guys? Who wants to come home to this? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Would you want to come home to this after a hard day's work? Okay, probably not.
Hold on.
No,
I don't want my
It's
woman.
true. He just said it.
Hold on. We don't want women that we have to battle your past for. If I get me a younger woman with less experience, yes, it's about mold. Why can't a alpha, powerful man can't mold his wife to be that wife to make him happy?
Excuse me,
What is
sir.
wrong
You
with
just
that?
said you got
Hold
5
on.
baby mamas.
Yes.
Like, how you think that? Why do you think that we want y'all at?
Can the doctor talk?
Hold on, baby. First of all, here's the thing. We talked about this all the time. My kids will not be a burden on you. Let me speak. Please, let me speak. Okay. Our kids is not a burden on y'all like y'all kids are a burden on us. Our kids live. Listen, this is the problem. Nobody wants to listen. You just want to talk. Just let me speak. Women, stop it. Just stop it, please.
What you looking at me for?
just
Make the comment, please, sir.
Can I say something real quick?
Because I hate the notion that women always try to make it seem like men are semi-predators because we want a pure woman. This is what we want. Y'all can't get mad at us for wanting what we want. And as far as the children, yes, every man in here has children, yes. But like I said, our children will not be a burden to y'all like vice versa because our kids live with their mama for the most part. If I take you serious with kids, your kids are going to be under my wing. Which no, it's the truth. And you need to hear this because at the end of the day, when I come, if I come home to you and you have children and you live with me, I got to bring 6 meals home instead of 2. You think I'm gonna just buy half the kids' food?
So basically,
I'm a man. I'm supposed to provide for my family. So hold on, and it gets deeper. I got to buy more bedrooms for a house. Okay, with me and you and 1 child, that's a 2-bedroom. But if you got 3-4 kids, I gotta get that's $4,000-$5,000.
So your babies ain't never coming over to visit?
Yes, they are, but
So
they don't live. They don't live there.
Your baby mama and your drama neither.
Baby,
stop acting like y'all are perfect.
Stop.
Men are not perfect. Stop it.
It's not about being perfect. It's just it is what it is.
Yeah, he's basically saying it's a different dynamic, okay, if you are a single mother, okay, because more often than not, you're going to have custody of the kids, okay? The kids are going to be living with the mother, okay? That's just how the court system is set up for a man, okay? So whatever agreement that you have with the mother, if the kids come over every other weekend or what have you, they go right back to the mother, okay, full time. Okay, he's not dealing with his kids. He doesn't have full custody of his kids full time. Versus if he was to take on a single mother that has kids, she's now going to look to him to be responsible for the food, the provision, okay, supporting, protecting, and providing. Okay, that is on your lap full time. So I know it sounds like a bit of a double standard when it comes to the single dating market, but it is what it is.
No matter how many kids a man.
Just a second as well. They were talking about moulding somebody, moulding a younger girl. I think really what they should be focusing on is, like he said it really well. You don't want somebody who's bitter and has got baggage. Baggage is the nice way to put it, but like kind of bitter and damaged through the dating process. I mean, you know what I mean? Look at, I don't want to put it all on the girl on the right, but the way that she talks, the way she communicates, maybe it's that just tone of voice, which maybe not her fault, but she's focusing on the wrong things. Number one, as I say, that would just do. Yeah, she would have hopefully met a more long-term thinking man at best, and she might have hopefully been a more long-term thinking lady at the time that she had her kids. I think she said that she did. And then it wouldn't be a problem. Then we get in this kind of marriage conversation again, where it should be, but it wasn't. And what I'm really getting at, that is what she should be annoyed and frustrated with, not the reality about how men choose. Of course, it's going to be the reality that most of the time, a dad can hardly see the kids. That's it. And if he can, it's going to be sparing. So that's completely different to somebody living with you full time, especially as he said, if you've got 3 or 4 kids. One way or another, he's going to be paying for those kids. They're not his. You know what I mean? But he's got to be fully invested. It's completely different energy. Completely different energy. And just in the reality side of things, if reality matters anyway. We're getting towards halfway. Actually, I'm going to call it there. My voice needs a little bit of a rest. Stay tuned for part 2. You do not want to miss it. Please like, subscribe. That is Steve, and I am out.